Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Chris Gallagher here at the Preacher's Pen. Thank you for watching this Bible class. If you have watched our other ones, I thank you as well. Today, we're going to be diving into Mark chapter 5. We're going to be talking about this demon-possessed man who comes to Jesus, and we're going to key off of just some very interesting things that he says to Jesus that I think that we can take into our own life. Even though we're not there in this particular moment in time, we can read about it thousands of years later, and we can dive into this. But before we do that, I want to encourage you to go over to thepreacherspen.org. Look up at the very top. There's two links that I want you to notice. The first one is going to be newsletter. I want you to notice that newsletter link. Sign up for our newsletter. We'd be glad to send out our newsletter by email. That's going to come out tomorrow, which is going to be Wednesday. It comes out Wednesday every week. We want you to be part of that. The second one, all the way over on the right-hand side, is going to be the prayer request or the prayer page. If you've got a prayer request, you can send that over to us. We're putting together a group of individuals who are going to be praying diligently for those prayer requests that are going to be there. So I want to encourage you to do that. As always, go check out our YouTube page, youtube.com, then the youtube.com/@ Preacher's Pen. If you're on Rumble, rumble.com/Preacher's Pen. We'd be glad to have you as one of our followers, one of our subscribers, as we go through all of these Bible classes and other short videos that we're going to be bringing you over the course of 2023. But let's dive in, if we can, to Mark chapter 5. Yesterday we read through the text, and this is a very powerful and interesting text, because in Mark chapter 5, what you really have is you have three accounts that are here. You have the miracle that occurs with a man named Legion. You have the next miracle, which is going to be the woman with the issue of blood. Then you have the next miracle down at the end of Mark chapter 5, which is going to be Jairus' daughter. But it begins with Jesus crossing over the Sea of Galilee, because in Matthew chapter 5, verse 1, it says, when they came to the other side of the sea. So they've crossed over the Sea of Galilee, which is in the northern part of what we would call the Holy Lands. And that Sea of Galilee was very important to the ministry of Jesus. A lot of things occurred around that sea. But he goes to the other side, and I want you to notice verse 2. It says, when Jesus stepped out of the boat, immediately there was a man that met him. So maybe this man saw Jesus in the distance. Whatever the case, he met Jesus. Now, this was what we would consider to be, and I'll just say it the way that we think about it, this is going to be a crazy man. This is going to be somebody that is not going to be the norm. He's going to be very unique. That means different and one of a kind. And the reason is because he's possessed. He's got a lot of demons that are inside of him. In fact, if you read through the text, you find out that this is what happened. Nobody could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. He was so strong that he broke out of those chains. And it goes on to say, he had been bound with shackles and chains, but he pulled the chains apart and he broke those shackles into pieces, and no one had the strength to subdue him. Now, typically what we think of and what I've seen pictures of is somebody who's very thin, very frail, because he lives, the Bible tells us, in the tombs, and he lives in this part of the wilderness. But the people are close by in the city, so they knew who he was. I doubt, and just my opinion, but I doubt that he was a small, kind of a frail individual. Instead, I picture a very strong individual who's able to break this. And here's what's fascinating. It says that he was always crying out and he was cutting himself with stones. So not only was he probably very strong, but he was also one who cried out. So just imagine being in the city and listening to this man as he cried out to the people around him, and he was cutting himself, tormenting himself literally day after day after day. And it says that when he saw Jesus from afar, he ran down and he fell before him. So he saw Jesus coming across the sea. And I would imagine, I would bet that as Jesus came across the sea, he realized who Jesus was. And he ran. And it says he fell down before him, and crying out with a loud voice, he proclaims who Jesus is. Because we know in the Bible that even the demons believe and tremble. Now I want you to think about that just for a moment. We talk about the evils of Satan and how evil Satan is, and he is. He's very evil, and he's trying to pull us away. We know that he plans to get us from Ephesians chapter 6. We know that he actively seeks us. He walks around this earth as a roaring lion, seeking somebody to devour. He wants to come after us. But Satan knows about God. He knows about Jesus. He tempted Jesus. And he knows about all those things, but yet he is still in this battle. I know that Satan knows it's a losing battle, but now it's just a numbers game. Well, what's fascinating is the demons believe and tremble. So this demon-possessed man, it says he comes to him and says, "What would you have to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you by God, do not torment me." That's the demon speaking from this man, because when Jesus asks him, what's his name? He says, "Legion, for we are many." Now, think about that for a moment. The demons answer and they say that we are many. So they are now begging Jesus not to just torture them and to do away with them. Instead, fascinating, right? Once we kind of get out of the box of typical thinking, send us into the herd of pigs. Why pigs, right? That yuck. But anyways, do they send him into the pigs? And this is what it says. They said, "Send us into the pigs, let us enter them." So he gave them permission. Jesus gave the demons permission to leave the man and to go into the pigs. Think about that. He gave him permission to go into the out of the man and into the pigs. He says that they numbered about 2,000. They rushed down the steep bank and they were drowned into the sea. So don't torment us because we know your power. Instead, let us take our own life. As a demon saying that to Jesus, then what was fascinating is there were people there with the pigs, these herdsmen. And it says in verse 14, the herdsmen, they ran, they told it in the city and the country, and everybody came out to see Jesus. And when they saw Jesus, they also saw this demon-possessed man. And this is what the scripture says. It says, he was the one who had the legion sitting there, clothed. Remember, he was naked before because he just couldn't handle it. So he was clothed, he's in his right mind, and the people were afraid. They saw this mysterious power that they have never seen before. This amazing power that they had never seen before, and it frightened them. It frightened them so much that when they saw Jesus, notice what happens. They begin to beg Jesus to depart from their region. They saw a healing, and that healing was so shocking, they said, "Would you please leave?" Instead of what we would do is reach out and say, "This is amazing," they saw power that they never saw before, and they were scared. I would imagine they were absolutely afraid and said, would you please leave? So Jesus goes and he gets in the boat. And here is a fascinating part. And this shows a side of Jesus that I think sometimes we know, but we overlook. And here's what I mean. It says, as Jesus, getting into the boat, the man who had been possessed with demons came and begged Jesus that he might go with him. And Jesus says, "No, go home and tell your friends how much the Lord has done for you." In a society that rejected Jesus, Jesus tells the man, "Go home and tell them what the Lord has done for you." You go home and you tell those people, because I would imagine it's going to be people of the city that have rejected Jesus. They've asked him to leave. Why would you do that to Jesus? But they say, would you go? Would you go and would you go over there? Amazing account. It says, so he went his way and he began to proclaim how much Jesus had done for him. Here's what I want us to gain for this story in this brief moment is this. No matter what society does in the rejecting of Jesus, it's still our job if we've been cured. It's still our responsibility, our duty, our love, our actions to go out and to proclaim what Jesus has done for us. It's an amazing account in Mark chapter 5. Go back and read it. Once again, be sure to check out our website, preacherspen.org. Be sure to check out our YouTube page, youtube.com/@preacherspen, rumble.com/preacherspen, and all those other sites. You can find those on our website at preacherspen.org. Sign up for that newsletter. That's going to be right above. Then also go over and find that prayer page. So That's our Bible class today. Really quick, but we got it done. Go out and proclaim what the Lord has done for you. We'll talk to you soon.